Okay, hey, welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. It's a really cool little preview for you guys from the brand Knot. Now, if you're fans of the channel, you probably do recall some really awesome Japanese watches featured by this brand before. But if you're new to the channel and you're new to this particular video, a little bit about the brand, they were founded in 2014 out of Tokyo, Japan. And they're really known for pioneering mix and match high quality made in Japan watches with nearly 17 manufacturing partners across Japan and more than 11 strap partners alone. They offer traditional Japanese craftsmanship and special techniques which have been handed down over many generations. Knot is the only watch company who provides genuine Japan crafted leather and fabric straps, known for offering a wide array of pairing options to personalize each combination. Now, in terms of the type of watch, this really falls underneath that everyday dress watch space. And some key characteristics and design, when you're looking for something that you can wear every day that dresses up quite nicely, of course, you're going to want to find that clean, classic, minimalist design and something that is sensibly sized. This is actually from their classic series, the small second CS-36, and this is actually going to be a special edition Urushi Lacquer dial. And with that, I mean, this particular format here is really just their quintessential Knot model with a minimalist design dressed up by its artisanal Japanese Urushi Lacquer dial. These are going to go for roughly in between 25,000 Japanese yen to 35,000 roughly direct, depending on how you option them out, which actually translates to just $175 to $250 USD. So the pricing will vary based on the strap selection as well as the current exchange rates. And I probably, at the time of posting this, won't have any direct links to this because I believe this is going to be a special Kickstarter where they're really wanting to bring that Japanese craftsmanship to the masses. And I mean, like I said, guys, optioned up, you can get this for $250. I mean, that is pretty darn good. Sure, it's a quartz movement, but it's Japanese and a Japanese watch. It's using sapphire. It has a Urushi Lacquer dial. I mean, there's definitely a lot to like here. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, now speaking of straps, we have a nice assortment also sent in from the brand prior to release to hopefully give you guys a little bit more of a visual in terms of, I mean, the real ethos of this brand is going to be that level of customization, right? And there's a wide array. These are definitely far from cookie cutter types of straps, whether it be the material, the patterns, the textures. There's just a lot to enjoy here. These are all going to be 18 millimeters, which are going to fit across any Knot watch that they have. They all use 18 millimeter lug widths, which is a little bit small for me, but the nice thing is these are non-tapering straps, so I think that actually does help with making them sit quite well on larger wrists. But let's take a look at the star of the show today, which is going to be this beauty right here. Ooh, check it out, guys. So you're going to get that beautiful traditional Urushi Lacquer dial, and it is gorgeous. And again, guys, I apologize if you're clicking into some of the links in the description and I don't have a direct link up yet. I promise you, depending on when you watch this, as soon as that link is available, I'll make sure to add it there. I'll even pin it in the comments. But anyways, guys, so this particular look, guys, I know a lot of people might probably associate this with more of a Bauhaus aesthetic, and that's completely understandable because this aesthetic has been around for a long time, and watches, especially dress watches in general, have had similar looks. And that's something that I think is, you want to take a nice platform, a great silhouette, and then really where they excel is going to be offering within those customizations, whether they be dial finishes, dial colors, handset coloration, and then of course down to the type of strap as well. So there's definitely a lot going on here, and it's over a very minimalist, which is one of the biggest, pieces of Bauhaus is minimalism, right? And functionality that kind of flows into form factor. So you have a very nice minimalist baseline, and then where you're going to get all the excitement is going to be kind of everything else, which I think is smart, because if it was a very busy design with very busy textures on top of that, I think it might be a little overpowering. But I think, as you guys can see right here, this is something that is going to, I think, at least to me in my eyes, appeal to a much wider audience. So here you have a very nice classic 36 millimeters, and 36 millimeters is a little bit small for what I typically wear, guys, but you can see this is a wide flat dial that reaches out, pushes out to the outer edges of this case. So because of that, it's going to wear much nicer. Also, it's only 6.7 millimeters thick, guys. That is just beautifully thin, and it's so thin you might not even realize how thin it is just by looking at it, because it's still quite proportional in the way that they laid it out. But I mean, these straps are far from thick, guys, and look at how thin they just render. So this is beautifully thin, and again, that's another thing that's going to help this wear really, really well, even on a larger wrist. So you're getting this all polished 316L stainless steel case. You're getting a flat sapphire with inner AR coating. You have, of course, a very razor thin bezel there that is fixed. You have a push-pull crown that is actually signed. Check that out. You got the little Q there, the little knot, I should say, which is not a Q. It's for the knot, and you can see that they do use that on there actually as the O. So let's not get it confused. So it looks really great from that perspective as well. Now the movement inside is going to be a quartz Miyota 1L45, which is nothing too special. It has a 3-year battery life, which is good. But in terms of the accuracy, this isn't a high accuracy quartz. This is more like plus or minus 20 seconds per month. Now per month, guys, that's per month, which I know doesn't sound super exciting, but I mean, considering that a lot of watches are going to be plus or minus 20 seconds per day, I think you're doing pretty well here. And again, this is more of a dressy piece, so it's not like you're going to be getting some crazy time hack on this every time you wear it, and you know, using it for, you know, hardcore mission mission timing, right? This is going to be much more of a casual, dressy, you know, in that space kind of wear. Now, the case back is nice and solid, and you can see it has just a couple of smudges on it because it is a nice warm evening here in Southern California, but you guys can see there, beautifully done, nicely reflective, very simple, that CS-36 there, and it looks good. You know, there's not much to it, but that means that it's also going to lay very, very nicely on your wrist. Getting to the dial, I mean, guys, now it's not super complex in terms of, you know, crazy faceted indices and stuff like that. Now, not watches do stuff like that. I do have, you know, some watches in my collection that I reviewed not too long ago. Let me give this just a quick little wipe, make sure that crystal is looking nice and pristine for you guys so you can really appreciate the dial. I'm going to try to hold it at an angle so you're getting enough light on there, because it's otherwise just reflecting off of a, you know, black camera lens. But check that out. Ooh, let me even get a little dust off of there. Okay, so the dial, you're getting applied indices, that red Urushi Lacquer dial, polished hands, 3 atmospheres or 30 meters of water resistance, which for a dress watch is absolutely sufficient. 18 millimeter lugs that are drilled, and then of course we have these 5 options here, and I mean, these are just 5 of many options when it comes to you know, their diverse range. Here we are with a really nice blue leather. Check this out here. Get it to focus. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Very nice, very sharp, and you can see very cool execution also on this. You know, this isn't, they're not using off-the-shelf parts. Look at that tang buckle there. You're getting a fixed keeper, sliding keeper, very nice. And actually this one does appear to taper, so There we go, 18 to 16. So some of them are going to taper, but then you can see it's not a dramatic taper because it's already kind of small at 18 millimeters. So you are going to have those options, which is nice. For me, with my larger wrists, I think the non-tapering options look very nice as well. Check it out. Got like a dark denim, and you guys know how big denim is in Japan, so that is just gorgeous. Beautifully lined. You even got the rivets here for longevity. This is very, very cool. Ooh, and again, all made in Japan. So very, very nice. Quick release spring bars all around. And these aren't really broken in, guys. So, you know, if they look a little stiff, it's because they're still relatively new, you know. It's not like I'm going to go, you know, I had a formal event that I was going to wear a dress watch to test it out. Look at this. A little bit more on kind of the feminine color palettes there, but very cool. This Japanese silk is very nice. I've handled these straps in the past. They are just outstanding, guys. Look at the craftsmanship here. Very, very cool. And I mean, this one, you can tell, doesn't need any breaking in whatsoever. We got this cool one right here. This one really caught my eye. It has that traditional kind of Japanese flower pattern there in a glossy finish, while the backdrop is going to be a really beautiful kind of suede texture. Very, very cool. This one is also going to have some taper to it. And you can see there, very, very finely crafted. So as much as I love the watch head and case itself, I have to say that, of course, the straps are going to be also a huge part of that. And they are very easily interchangeable. I thought this kind of this one right here, just because of how complex it is with the patterning, with the, you know, multiple aspects of the hybrid construction. I thought this would be a nice one, and it does play well, of course, off of just those little kind of almost golden flakes there on the dial, to have some of these warmer tones as well. But just to give you guys a quick little idea of, you know, again, how easy this is. You know, we'll try it with the black, which I think this one probably would be the most intuitive of the gang. Not of all the selection, I mean, just because they have absolutely so many options on their website. I mean, you could be scrolling for days. Let me give it a quick little wipe here off camera. And, ooh, guys, check that out. That is just beautiful. I like that it's subdued, but it does give you a little bit of pop. And again, it's similar to the dial, right? It's this deeper red lacquer, but then you do have the little pops, the little glimmers there that just show that there's a little something more to it. Now, are you going to get the depth of some Grand Seiko level dial? No, you're absolutely not. I mean, just based on the physical nature of what you're going to be getting here, you can see that it is a much thinner and finer profile. So it's not going to be in your face whatsoever. But I think that is actually a positive, because it's something to where at a glance, it looks clean, it looks classic, it can go with anything. And then kind of as you get closer with your inspection, then you're going to see some of, you know, some of it brought more to life there, which I think is very, very cool. But with all that said, let's actually get this piece on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay, guys, as you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, this actually wears really, really well. Although, even though my wrist is on the larger side of average, I mean, it is also a taller, rounder wrist, so it's not like it's super wide, flat, and accommodating. But you guys can see, if I do get my wrist a bit too close to the lens here, you're going to get some perspective distortion. Here, luckily, since it's a smaller watch, it's hard to really make it look oversized. But I will stress again that this does wear really well for its size. But one thing I like to do is keep my wrist nice and low, and then just tighten up the frame so that you guys can get just a bit more of a detailed look, but just at a truer aspect ratio as to how this may lay on your owner. So you can see beautifully centered. That wide dial does help give it the wrist presence that you would want. And look at that razor thin profile, guys. Again, just 6.7 millimeters thick. I mean, that is beautifully thin. And I think that's something that I really enjoy about this type of proposition. It's a dressy watch. It's very thin. It's not overly just vague though, right? Because you do want things to be versatile. But as somebody who doesn't, probably get too formal too often, I think it's nice to have a bit of a signature aesthetic when it comes to your dressier watches. It's nice to have something with a little bit more pop, just because, typically when you do get dressed up in something that's going to be a little bit more formal, a lot of times it's going to be, pretty blocky in terms of the colorways, right? You're going to have a dark suit, maybe a lighter gray suit at best, and then just a couple of pops of color. And I think this is, that same idea can really offer you something very, very special. And I mean, look at how thin that is. That's going to slip underneath any cuff. Oh my. Wow, I'm really, really digging this one. And I know some of you are probably screaming at the screen, hey, well, what about getting more of those straps rotated in and seeing how they wear? So let's go ahead and do that. All right, check that out. I wouldn't expect necessarily the blue and the red to go together, but I gotta say, I think that's actually a really, really nice subtle combo that does add a lot of nice contrast and visual play to the setup. What do you guys think? I think that looks very good. And I have to say, all of these straps, very, very nice. Of course, certain ones are going to probably need a little bit more break-in than others, but they're definitely feeling more towards the premium end of things, just because of the really well done construction. And of course, everything's very thoughtful and thematic. It's not like, where they have a lot of generic strap options. I mean, a lot of these all have so much great personality, and I'm really, really digging that. So with that said, let's actually let's try on one more. Okay, ooh, there we go, back to where we started. I think this one looks really, really good. And one thing I noticed that I probably should point out here is that each one of these straps actually do have a certain level of micro adjust. Let's take a look there. So you can see here, there's actually 2 holes, and this is actually a quick release as well. So if you wanted to, adjust the fitment, because let's say the holes that exist are not close enough for you, maybe your one hole feels too loose, one feels too tight. The nice thing is, if you wanted to, you can actually take this here now, and I think this is just such a smart feature. Pop that out, take it, scoot it up one, and then get that to snap in. There you go. Now it's going to be a little bit tighter so that you could err on that looser hole and then have just a bit of a different fitment. So I don't know. I just think that's really, really cool. Very thoughtful. I'll give this a quick little wipe here just so you guys can see this buckle in all of its glory. Beautifully polished there, guys. So this is just a cool brand. They're just doing things a little bit different. Not anything too far out there. I mean, there are some brands that, they just take it to another level when it comes to doing things different, to where it can be quite polarizing. I think here, the nice thing is, again, more minimalist in terms of those platforms. And then they let you go from mild to wild in terms of the format you want to go with, whether it be, the dial combination, which, I will have links to just the standard, CS-36, guys, so you guys can see there. And then, that's also very customizable from that perspective as well. Various dials, various dial colors, different handset colors, that they'll do to, contrast off of different dials. But this one right here, there's something about this. It's just very different. You might say, yeah, the color tone, I think on my wrist isn't the greatest. But, not everybody has the same wrist tannage as I have. So, yeah, this might be perfect for you. So with that said, we'll go ahead, get this off the wrist, set up for some, not loom shots, but we could do some low light transition and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. All right, so yeah, completely pitch black because there's no loom, but one thing I always like to work in is going to be a bit of a low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So as I see with these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. And you guys can see here, ooh, the pattern on the strap, the depth of that dial, although it is razor thin in terms of that case, and I'm sure the application of lacquer isn't the thickest available out there, but you can see it does reach great depths of color here depending on the way that the light plays on it. So very, very cool. I mean, there's not a bunch of lume or anything. Ooh, look at that. There we go. Ooh, yeah. I mean, that's one thing I really like about this platform is at a glance, it's just this minimalist kind of everyday dress watch, you know, similar to something you might find from, let's say, Nomos. Of course, at a fraction of the cost, but, you know, a fraction of the spec. Not completely. I mean, you know, you're still getting a polished stainless steel case. You're still getting a sapphire crystal. You're just getting, yeah, you know, more pedestrian movement. But at least the movement is within the theme of a Japanese watch with a Japanese movement. So I dig that. And yeah, this is a cool watch, guys. I like it. I like that it's not super expensive. I know sometimes I'll feature stuff and people get really bent out of shape about the price points. Everybody's at a different place within their journey. And what I like here is that this particular watch, I think it hits kind of a really cool sweet spot because I think it will take those more mature collectors who've had a lot of different watches, who have big rotations, pretty full little watch boxes, to really appreciate what makes this watch special. And typically, if you've already spent quite a bit, you're going to be delighted to find a watch that you're going to get a lot of wrist enjoyment from, right? Especially considering this is going to be crowdfunded, from my understanding. So that means there'll be a little bit of a delay, right? You're going to kind of pre-order and then they're going to be produced and then you'll be able to get one. So when you have all of that, you know, at a cost of like under $200, maybe a little bit over at $250, $175 to $250, right? Depending on, you know, the exchange rates and everything, you could have a watch that you're going to be waiting for and excited about. And then when it comes, yeah, again, it's really targeting that. I think there's going to be a lot of people who see this and they're just going to, okay, I don't know what this is all about. That's not really my thing. That's fine. But I think for those of you that can appreciate this just because of your experiences and, you know, you might have, you know, just a grander scale in terms of the watches you've worn and rotated, I think there's a lot of little ornate details here that can really, really be appreciated. And then I think on the other side, this is actually a really cool watch you could get for a non-watch person as well, like dads and grads. Or in this case, since because of that size, it's quite unisex, you could get this for a girlfriend, wife, whatever it may be, a sister, daughter, that also might be, you know, kind of into watches, but they don't want to have to wind a watch. They don't have to set it. They don't have to learn anything about the feature set. You can set this and forget it. And then you can even get them a bunch of straps to play with so they can match different outfits, different accessories and stuff like that. So I think there is a certain level of fun to that, to where, yes, a collector can derive a lot of enjoyment, but then also a casual kind of, wristwatch person could also enjoy it. Maybe stuff like this will get them more into the hobby. So yeah, I know this has been a little bit of a long one. Simple watch, but I think there's a lot to discuss here. So let me know what you guys all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.